Man who hopes for a bit of a comeback is in the Republican race, because there is a race going on for the Republican nomination. You might not know it, but this fellow wants you to know differently. I'm talking about Republican presidential candidate, the former Massachusetts Governor Bill Weld, challenging the president in all the 14 primary states up for grabs today. Governor, good to have you.
Great to be with you. Thank you.
You know, I was looking at the breakdown of the states where you are getting a lot of attention. North Carolina, of course, you had a big rally in Charlotte. In Vermont, the Republican governor is endorsing you. But
Right.
Without being jaded, I would think that's about it. Maybe disavow me of the notion that those are your best shots.
Well, I think Vermont with the backing of Governor Phil Scott, Utah with the backing of Evan McMullin, who got 22% there last time, running as an independent, not even a major party candidate. And, of course, Massachusetts, where I served 2 terms as governor. Those are probably the 3 I've got my eye on. There's some wild cards out there. Colorado is another crossover state where independents can take a Republican ballot, so I've got my eye there. But the important thing is I'm satisfied if people are aware that I'm offering an alternative to President Trump in the Republican primary, and that I'm an economic conservative, rated the most fiscally conservative governor in the United States during my 2 terms. And I care about the environment and climate change, and I don't want any damn foreign interference in our election. So those are 3 big differences between me and Mr. Trump. And if people know that and think for themselves and make their choice, I'm happy.
You know, Governor, the fact of the matter is it's always an uphill fight to challenge an incumbent president. The one who came closest, obviously, was Ronald Reagan in 1976, where we darn near won it. The fact of the matter is that you've got all of 1 delegate thus far, I believe, from Iowa, and that's it. Republicans will look at this and say, you know, he's trying to be a spoiler. Nothing will amount to anything unless maybe this coronavirus amounts to something. What do you say to that?
I don't think coronavirus is a basis for a panic or a market explosion. I really don't think it's going to be a major factor when all is said and done. I do think that you know, I could have an impact on the election results in the final, even without winning myself. Let's assume Mr. Trump is the nominee of the Republican Party. They say, smart money says, if he loses 4 or 5 or 3 or 4% of the so-called traditional Republican vote, he cannot be reelected. Steve Bannon says that, who's Mr. Trump's #1 guy. I think on average I can exceed that amount. So, you know, every vote that goes for me is a vote that's not going for Mr. Trump, either in the Republican primary or in the general.
Do you regret? It's still
early.
early. I'm sorry, Governor. It's still early, but so anything can happen, I guess. But not running as a third-party candidate, that you might have carried more heft and influence running independently of Republicans or Democrats than now running as a Republican.
You know, it's hard to say. Gary Johnson and I last time got 4.5 million votes, which was triple the previous best showing of the Libertarian Independent Party. But this time I wanted to make sure there'd be no question about where my votes were coming from. And I am an economic conservative, and which Republicans supposedly traditionally were, and Mr. Trump is not. And he really has set his face against the rule of law. I spent 7 years working for Ronald Reagan, trying to keep politics out of the Justice Department. And Mr. Trump is trying to politicize the Justice Department. That's a very deep issue. So I wanted to run straight against Donald Trump, and that's what I've done.
You know, Governor, I think even your critics say that you were a very good governor, very effective governor. You appeal to both parties, which in Massachusetts you kind of have to do. But you've got an uphill battle here. And the bigger issue is that your type of republicanism, if you can excuse that phrase, sir, is out of fashion. And it will be even more out of fashion if the president is reelected. That guys like you, no offense, because the older I get, the older I recognize I am, you're a dinosaur. What do you say?
Well, I hope that decency and integrity and kindness do not go out of fashion and stay out of fashion, which is one reason I think the stakes are awfully high in this election. But thank you.
All right, Governor, thank you very much. We'll see how things sort out today.